Some people can walk past a problem and deal with it later. You can't. You don't fix things because you like to. You fix things because your brain doesn't tolerate broken. Something stops working, and before anyone even finishes explaining the problem, you're already inside it, figuring it out. Not because someone asked, because standing there and doing nothing feels worse than the problem itself. And that instinct, that automatic reach toward whatever's wrong, it's been running so long you don't even notice it anymore. But there's a reason it's there.
And what you fix goes way beyond what most people see. You fix the furnace and the Wi-Fi and the thing under the sink that's been dripping since March. You fix the spreadsheet nobody else can figure out. You fix the argument between your kid and their teacher. You fix Thanksgiving when two people at the table aren't speaking. You fix things with your hands. You fix things with your presence. You fix things by walking into a room and calmly doing the thing that everyone else was panicking about. And the range of it is what makes it invisible, because it doesn't look like a skill, it just looks like you.
This started in an empty house. You came home after school and nobody was there. Divorce rates had doubled. Both parents worked, and the safety net that was supposed to catch the gap didn't exist yet, so you caught yourself. The pilot light went out, you figured it out. The lock on the back door was jammed, you figured that out. Your younger sibling was crying and nobody was coming. You figured that out too. You were 10. Nobody sat you down and taught you how to fix things. You just lived in a house where things broke and nobody else was around to deal with it, so you dealt with it. By the time you were 12, you had a skill set that most adults don't have at 30. A 2004 study described your generation as one of the least parented and least nurtured in modern American history. What it didn't say is that the same generation became the most quietly competent one in the room. Every room. There's a reason your generation fixes things the way it does, and it goes deeper than being handy. Fixing things wasn't just practical, it was psychological. You grew up during the Cold War. Divorce was reshaping families. The economy went sideways every few years. The world felt genuinely unstable in ways you couldn't control. But the broken thing in front of you, that you could control. The leaky faucet wasn't the Soviet Union. It was solvable. And solving it gave your brain something it desperately needed at that age. Proof that you could handle what was coming. Every fixed thing was evidence. Evidence that you were competent, that you'd be okay, that even if nobody else showed up, you'd figure it out. That's not a hobby. That's a survival adaptation, and it's still running. There's something else you picked up in those empty afternoons that researchers are only now putting a name to. They call it frustration tolerance, the ability to sit with a problem that isn't working, stay calm, and keep going until you find the fix. Not rage quit, not call someone, not replace the thing. Stay with it. Here's the part that should make you laugh. Therapists are now charging $150 an hour to teach millennials and Gen Z the exact same skill you developed for free with a house key around your neck and nobody home until 6. You didn't learn it from a workbook. You learned it because the alternative was a broken house and a long night, and your brain adapted. That adaptation didn't stop when you grew up. It just found new things to fix. And the systems kept changing. But you didn't stop. You started with analog everything, fixed things with your hands, learned how engines worked by watching someone do it once. Then the world went digital, and you adapted every single time. You went from adjusting the tracking on a VCR to setting up the family Wi-Fi to being the person at work who figures out why the printer jams every Tuesday. And at no point did anyone train you. You just looked at the broken thing and did what you've always done. Recent data from a global psychological assessment found that Gen X scores higher on competence than any other generation, men and women both. That doesn't surprise you. What might surprise you is that nobody else seems to notice it either. You've fixed a running toilet with a paperclip. You've gotten a car to start in February with nothing but stubbornness and a YouTube video you watched once. You've reassembled something that came with instructions in a language you don't speak and had 2 screws left over. And it still works 4 years later. And you didn't tell anyone, because why would you? It's just done. That's the part that separates you. Millennials would post the before and after. Gen Z would film the process. You just did it, wiped your hands, moved on to the next thing. And that right there is the problem.
Here's what nobody ever asks the person who fixes everything. You fix things at home. You fix things at work. You fix your partner's bad day. You fix your parents' relationship with technology. You fix your kid's college application essay. You absorb tension at family dinners. You solve problems at 2 in the morning that nobody will ever know existed.
But when was the last time you fixed something for yourself? Not the house, not the car, not someone else's crisis. Something inside you. Something that's been sitting there, unfixed, for a long time. You know exactly what it is. You've always known. You just keep moving past it because everything else feels more urgent, and it always will. The fixer's calendar never clears. There's always one more thing, and that one more thing is the perfect reason to not sit still long enough to deal with your own.
A psychologist wrote something a few years ago that stopped me. She said her drive to fix everything in other people's lives came from an intolerance of her own vulnerability, that she was fixing them so she could avoid feeling what she was actually carrying. And if that lands for you, you already know why.
Because the kid who came home to an empty house and learned to fix the pilot light also learned something else that day. That needing help wasn't an option, that the safest version of you was the most capable version, and that being the person who handles things was always safer than being the person who needs things. That equation has been running for 40 years, and most of you have never questioned it, because why would you? It works. It's always worked. Except for the part where nobody ever fixes you. And if you're with someone, there's a good chance they've tried. At some point, they offered to help, take something off your plate, handle something for once, and you said no, without even thinking about it. Not because you don't trust them, because letting someone else fix something means admitting it was too much, and too much was never an option.
So the person who loves you watches you carry things alone. Not because they don't want to help, because you won't put anything down long enough for them to pick it up.
Your competence became your armor, and it's very good armor. So good that the people around you stopped wondering whether you're okay a long time ago. They just assume you are, because you always look like you are. You're the person everybody calls when something falls apart, and that's not nothing. That's a life built on being useful in ways that actually matter. You wear that. It fits. But armor that never comes off eventually stops being something you wear and starts being something you are, and you can't always tell the difference anymore. There's a difference between working fine and being okay. You know which one you've been running on, but the same person who can fix anything in front of them can figure that out too. You always do. That part hasn't changed since you were 12. Drop your birth year and tell me the one thing you fixed that your kids will never believe you did yourself.